Oh man, Carnival being accused of deception, and the US government may be looking to regulate cruise lines, which I don't think the cruise lines would love this. Yeah, all of that plus a whole lot more in today's episode. Let's go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to La Lido Loca. Welcome to the Cruise Show. I am your host, Tony, here to talk you through everything going on in cruising. It's everything going on in cruising. It's for your face on a Tuesday the 5th of August, 2025. And well, today I've just ported in San Juan, Puerto Rico. What a wonderful town. San Juan, Puerto Rico. I am doing my time here on the MSC World America. I got up early today and explored some of the top decks. I'm really trying to get a sense of this cruise ship so that when I get back home, I can share it with you. But yeah, great time on MSC World America so far. But the cruise industry has got some interesting things going on. First, let's talk about deception. And Carnival Cruise Line being accused of deception. I really love the fact that this is what Carnival Cruise Line is talking about. It's all prompted by outrageous complaints, but there is a Carnival Cruise passenger that wrote in to Carnival Cruise Line saying that they feel like they're being deceived, that when they go to the main dining room every night and they're served their piece of bread and they're offered butter in the little butter packets, that it's not really butter. They're going there thinking that they're going to get butter, but they're actually being given margarine. And well, the complainer, they can't believe it's not butter. No endorsement there. They can't believe it's not butter, and they're mad. They're mad that Carnival is going out of their way to deceive their passengers, and they're not even telling people that they're getting margarine instead of butter. And this is big news. This is big news. It's such big news that the Carnival brand ambassador had to come out and make a statement that, in fact, the little packets that are placed on the table are butter. So in your face, Mr. Margarine Man, it actually is butter. So, that's how Carnival rolls. They give you real butter. Buttergate 2025. Is this what we're talking about? Okay, let's talk about something a little more serious than that. Now, it could be argued that switching to margarine over butter, like if you go to the grocery store, margarine is cheaper than that Irish butter, whatever that is. And so maybe switching, discreetly. I'm not saying that they did it, but switching discreetly to margarine, maybe a cost savings play. And cost savings is the name of the game in cruising right now. If you follow along with any of the major cruise lines and you listen to their earnings call, a big component of what they talk about is how they were able to reduce their operating cost. In business, there's a couple ways to increase profitability. You increase your prices, which customers don't like that, or you reduce your operating cost, and that's going to let more money flow to the bottom line for profit. And sometimes if you're swanky and suave and the customers will tolerate it, you do both. You increase your prices a little bit on everything and you decrease your operating costs, and then your profit balloons. And investors, they're very happy. Whoa, And so interestingly, a story just came out recently during Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings earnings call for the last quarter. They talked about their initiative to reduce their operating cost by $200 million by the end of this year, and then into next year, $300 million. And well, they've done it. They've reduced their operating costs by $200 million. And of course, the follow-up question would be, well, if somehow you figured out how to reduce your operating costs by $200 million, are your customers less satisfied? Because again, like I said, you can reduce costs all you want by taking away services, by using less quality food, by a lot of ways that you can reduce costs, but will that result in customers being unhappy? And well, Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings is reporting that no, their customer satisfaction surveys are at the level they want them to be to say that customers are satisfied. So, I don't know. I don't know. It's, not that it's smoke and mirrors. I've worked in these large corporations. People that work in these large businesses, they're very attuned to their goals of doing things like reducing cost and having good reporting to the street. Does that make them evil people for trying to do a good job? I don't think so, but it is always an interesting, concept of, is it the consumer versus the business? Because certainly the, consumers and business, they work in contrast with each other. Consumers want the most stuff for the least amount possible, and businesses want to give you the least stuff for the most money possible. But yeah, what do you think? Have you been on Norwegian Cruise Line lately? Have you felt the $200 million reduction? Are you still satisfied with the product? It's an interesting conversation, but that's business. These cruise lines they've got to make their money, right? And so they're going to do it one way or the other, and hopefully everybody digs what they're laying down. It'd be interesting to see what your opinion is. Leave a comment below. Now, I do want to circle back to a conversation we were having yesterday about drink packages and how Royal Caribbean, they've kind of removed the exception to allow one person in a cabin to have an alcoholic drink package, but the other adult person not required to do that. Those exemptions are gone as of August the 1st, and it sparked a lot of interesting conversation. And I think one of the most common comments yesterday was, look, if I buy the drink package, once I get the drinks that I paid for, I should be able to do whatever I want with them. So if I, there's some question about whether drink packages are unlimited or limited. Depends on the cruise line. So Carnival Cruise Line, they have a 15 drink limit. Other cruise lines have an unlimited drink, like Princess inside that Carnival family on the Premier package, Princess Premier package. It's unlimited. You can get as many alcoholic beverages per day that you want, as long as they're under $20. And so it comes back to that idea of they're my drinks. If I've paid for 15 drinks, then I should be able to hand them out any way that I want. Or if I paid for unlimited drinks, once I take ownership of the drink, I should be able to do with it whatever I want. I think the thing that people are missing is that when you buy a drink package, you're agreeing to the rules of the drink package. So when it comes to the drink package, Cruise Line is selling you discounted drinks. You're not paying full price for those drinks. So they're selling you discounted drinks, and the stipulation for you to be able to get discounted drinks is that you don't share those drinks. And so it's kind of built into the agreement. Now, people can philosophically disagree with it or whatever, but from the cruise line perspective is, look, we're going to sell you discounted drinks, but we're saying that if we do that, you can't share them. And so if you choose to do that, then you're kind of breaking the rules, and I would say just own that. It reminds me of the Napster days when people are like, hey man, I downloaded I downloaded 200 CDs worth of music off of Napster, and I'm like, oh, so you like to steal music? And I was doing it too, and I'm like, but I would say, yeah, I'm happy to steal music. They're like, I'm not stealing music. The record company, they make all this. I'm like, look, just own it. Like, okay, you know it's wrong to go against the rules, and just be like, yeah, I break the rules. Screw those guys. They make enough money, and I'm happy to break the rules. But don't get on like this moral high ground of like, well, I'm like Robin Hood out here with my Chevis or Honey Jack or something. But yeah, I think that's the thing that people kind of miss. The idea is that you're going to get discounted drinks if you follow some rules, and the rule is no sharing. But if you want to just give drinks to everybody, just pay full price. I guess that's the counterbalance to it. That's the counterbalance to it. Now, I do want to talk to you about this new bill that the U.S. government is trying to pass that's going to throw some regulations on cruising, which will be pretty interesting. But first, I want to tell you about a storm called Flores. Storm Flores has altered the itinerary of a cruise ship. This is a storm that is blowing around in the northern part of Scotland and in the North Sea. And I've been on those waters in the North Sea. They're pretty rough anyway, so I can imagine in a storm they're challenging. So challenging that the Regal Princess had to alter its British Isles cruise this week by skipping calls at Invergordon and Stornoway this week. So they've rerouted that cruise. They're going to go to Greenock a day earlier, and they're going to have an extra port of call in Liverpool, which is a fantastic port of call anyway. So sometimes, when you get lemons, you make the lemonades. I think a trip to Liverpool is definitely a lemonade scenario. Also, Ambassador Cruise Line's Ambiance cruise ship has revived its Norwegian fjord sailing, changing up that itinerary because of the storm Flores. I mention it so people out there, if you're new to cruising, or, of course, if you're a seasoned cruiser, that weather can impact the cruise itinerary. And it's always worth saying that just because you book a certain cruise ity, there's no guarantee that that's going to be your cruise itinerary. So when you're booking cruises, when you're getting into that cruise life, you got to be flexible, got to stretch. Take it with a grain of salt. But Hopefully you're not impacted by the storm. You're riding on the storm out. Shout out Ludacris. Okay, we'll get a little serious here. I got to tell you about government trying to get into the cruise business, and probably for okay, good reason. Before you get there, I do want to tell you about a serious story on the Carnival Breeze. There's an investigation underway about a crime that has potentially been committed against a female passenger. You can fill in the blanks, but it's one of those bad kind of crimes the FBI is investigating, and that particular type of crime is probably the most frequent type of crime that happens on cruise ships. Crimes of those types are reported to the FBI, and the FBI compiles information, but it's not always obvious where that information is, and I think I would have to go to Google right now to find the list of crimes that are happening on cruise ships. And that leads me to our next story. We do have two senators that have introduced a new cruise safety bill called the Cruise Passenger Protection Act of 2025, the CPPA, 56-page document kind of designed to modernize passenger safety on cruise ships. The best breakdown I've seen of this is over at cruiseradio.net from our friend Doug Parker, from his staff over there. Frank wrote a great article that kind of breaks down some of the key provisions of what this act is proposing to do. I think the main thing is they're suggesting that there be a governmental agency that is operated inside of the Department of Transportation that particularly deals with maritime stuff, cruise stuff. And then the other one that's a big one is a victim support services hotline, a 24/7 hotline where people can call. And then they're saying where it's a little bit challenging to go find the crime statistics on cruise ships, that every cruise line have a link on their website that takes you right there. So interesting things in this proposal. This just was brought to bear by Richard Blumenthal, Democrat from Connecticut, and Doris Matsui, Democrat from California. They're pushing back. It could be like yesterday I was jokingly saying that some of the ship breaking down aspects could be attributed to that documentary on Netflix called The Poop Cruise, right? Trainwreck the Poop Cruise. Well, then shortly after that we had this documentary about Amy Bradley, who went missing on a cruise ship, and who knows, maybe that's becoming top of mind in people's minds about, you know, safety on cruise ships. Plus we've seen some other interesting stuff. Talking about dealing with challenges on cruise ships, I did record a podcast with my friend Tommy Casabona from the Always Be Booked Cruise podcast, and we do our best to try to figure out what Carnival can do to fix some of their aggressive cruiser problems. Plus we talked about a whole lot more, so make sure you go check out that podcast. Should be up later today. The video version is on the Cruise Talk Network. I'll leave a link to that in the description, or if you listen to audio podcast, that is the La Lita Loca Cruise podcast. I'll leave links to all of that below. And welcome to all the new subscribers. Look, you're helping us get to the goal of 300,000 subscribers by the end of the year. All you gotta do is hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything, and it really shows that you like what we're putting down over here if you like these updates. And somebody asked me, didn't you used to have a goal of 18 million subscribers? That's still the goal. Like, I'm a boy with a dream. One thing I know for sure is that if you want to find some success in this life, set big goals and work hard to get to those goals. Maybe we'll never have 18 million subscribers, but the fact that I think we could have 18 million subscribers is motivating. And so if you're out there playing it safe, then safe is all you'll ever be. But sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit, and you end up here at the port of San Juan living a crazy life. So yeah, subscribe if you want more. Thanks for watching today's episode, and now there's nothing left to do but dance. Get up. Get up. So you seem to like it. Yesterday I made up a song. All these positive comments, they cannot be wrong. So I'm gonna leave you today with this little ditty. Please be nice. Don't be not nice. Let's dance. Dance. You can dance. Cruise dance. 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 Thanks for putting me on the spot. See you on the Lido. Bye.